So really quick, hello everyone. My name is Shelby Saunders and I'm a school counselor here at DePaul Prep. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the Rising Junior Grade Level Transitions meeting for parents. Before we get started, I really quickly wanted to share that if you have any questions that pop up throughout this presentation, to feel free to put them in the chat, and one of us here will try our best to get back to you as we move through the slides. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Stanton Anderson.
Thanks, Shelby. So welcome to everybody. This is our annual parent transition meeting, and we found that these are really helpful in terms of understanding what to expect for the next year. So our goals for tonight, you can see on our screen, we're going to hear from a teacher and some of our other parents and administrators about the academic rigor and expectations for 11th grade. We're going to talk about the supports that are available for next year, particularly in the area of college counseling. We're going to undergo some conversations around developmental changes that your students will go through next year. And then we'll talk about our faith formation plans for 11th grade. I already mentioned college planning. And then we'll do a little preview of summer work, upcoming dates, and if we have time for some question and answer. So now I'm going to hand it over to Flo Merkel-Deutsch to begin us in prayer.
Good evening, everyone. We begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Creator God, source of love, font of peace, we gather in your name as parents, guardians, and caregivers of teens. We give ourselves over to you in this moment. When we are overwhelmed, give us confidence in the small steps. When we are stressed, help us to recognize joyful moments. When we are filled with worry, gift us with the reassurance of your presence. When the day keeps us running, remind us to breathe in the life-giving air around us and infuse us with the breath of the Holy Spirit, knowing that it is in us, but not of us. Give us patience and strength for the long days and quick years of childhood, and hold our hearts in your loving hands. We ask this in your name, O God. Amen. St. Vincent de Paul, pray for us. St. Louise de Marillac, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Back to you.
Okay, so on our call, we have myself, which you already know about. We have Ms. Jorgensen, who is one of our world languages teachers at the 11th grade. You just heard from Flo Merkel-Deutsch, our Director of Mission and Ministry. We have Ms. Kelly Curtin, one of our college counseling team members. You've heard from Ms. Saunders, and we have Miss Madeline Strand, one of our school counselors. And then we have two of our parents, Kathy Ball, who happens to be president of our parent association, and Amy Bryant as well. And they will speak to this transition from the parent perspective. Is this?
So hello everyone. Again, I'm Ms. Jorgensen. I'm one of the Spanish teachers at DePaul Prep. And speaking as a teacher who has taught sophomores and juniors and many other levels, there is definitely a big expectation change that is going to happen between sophomore and junior year. Speaking personally, of course, we are getting into kind of the basics of grammar, the basics of of forms in my own class. And then with my juniors, I always expect a lot more longer form writing, more projects, more introduced language that is more natural or that is going to be more contextualized. And the same thing is going to be happening in a lot of other classes where projects are a lot more of a norm. There's going to be a lot more kind of expectations of students that they are doing their own thing. So there is a big level and a big jump of maturity. We're doing a lot more independent work with students and really with us holding our expectations high, we of course want to make sure that we are as supportive as possible with students, but we also want to make sure that they are living up to our expectations, and they have a big year ahead of them. Not only are the classes different, IB is now the norm for some of the students, APs are now being introduced, maybe more honors classes and languages. There's also, of course, the college process. So we want to make sure that students are aware that this is kind of, it can be a lot. It's a lot of anxiety, it's a lot of expectations, it's a lot of things that are happening, but the school is really ready to support the students. The teachers are ready to support students, counselors, college counselors. We're all ready to make sure that your children are incredibly well-rounded students going into the next year. And of course, with all of that, with the changing of expectations, with the norms that are being set, with what has been introduced in the past, in the first 2 years, we've built them up so much. Now we want to make sure that they themselves know what they are offered and what they have available to them. Students, of course, have so many resources with the Resource Hub, National Honor Society, which many students may want to apply to next year, or any of the honor societies. After school studying, of course, reaching out to teachers. And it's really important as you get into these years to look into making sure that students are very confident writers, very confident learners, and that they are using their own knowledge, and of course, trying to stray away from any AI usage, or make sure that they can use their own skills and their own language to ensure that they are being the best they can be. As I mentioned, we teachers and of course all of the school staff are ready to support students, but we do also just want to make sure the expectation is set that you guys are stepping it up in so many different ways. And we're looking forward to seeing how you can and how your children can be stepping up for us.
So some of the processes that you've experienced as freshman and sophomore parents are going to shift just a little bit, as Ms. Jorgensen just was referring to. We're really looking for our juniors to make that jump to being able to, with independence, apply newly learned concepts, and not only just in the way that the examples been showed in class, but to new concepts or to new situations. So they're transferring that knowledge over to different situations. Another hallmark of the junior year that we see that some of you might be looking forward to is the ability to understand different perspectives. We know that they've been able to challenge different perspectives. Every parent's probably familiar with that. But we see that juniors are starting to be able to clarify their own thinking, to give a rationale for their thinking, and then really being able to take a step back and put themselves in someone else's shoes. And I attribute that to some of the experiences that they have during the junior year, Kairos being one of them. I'm not going to talk about that, Flo. That's all you. But there's lots of opportunities for kids to, with the kind of newfound maturity, start thinking from a lens other than their own. Students are encouraged to always seek out feedback from teachers, sometimes from peers in classes where that structure is present. And then to the trick with feedback, which we all know, is to actually use it, right? To use it to improve the quality of your work. And as freshmen, that's really hard. It gets slightly easier as a sophomore, but as a junior, really, they should be becoming adept at using feedback to improve their work. And then time management. So as kids age, they tend to get busier. And this is something, no doubt, that you've been working on with them as they're in their freshman year and their sophomore year. And hopefully in the junior year, this is a moment where you can step back a bit as a parent to encourage them to make decisions, positive decisions about how they're using their time to set aside appropriate amounts for studying, for completing projects and homework, and balancing that with all of the other activities that they might be involved in. And when I say activities, I'm not just referring to structured activities, right? Do kids understand what kind of breaks they need? Do they understand what kind of physical exercise or movement they need to keep their brains active when they have to complete work? And so it's not as if they won't need you to continue to help them structure time, but we're looking to them to be growing in this area. And especially in that area of advanced planning and looking ahead to schedule out their work or their time. In my experience with this, girls tend to be better at this at a younger age than young men. And so that is something that you have to pay close attention to. That said, some girls aren't that great at it either, but there tends to be gender differences in how quickly students can do that planning ahead.
So building off of what Dr. Stanton Anderson just shared, the actual process of learning, whether it be new content, practicing self-advocacy, practicing that time management, that can be really uncomfortable for students, and that is completely normal. We really want to encourage students, especially as juniors, to adopt this growth mindset. You've probably heard of this before. It involves resilience, perseverance, understanding that sometimes it's okay to fail, because this year our students will inevitably encounter challenges. We just went through learning is hard. So our message to them is try not to get too discouraged when those tough times come up. Really lean into the resources and supports that we have to offer, and try as much as you can to take each opportunity as a chance to grow. Easier said than done. So a big thing that will help students not only embrace the learning process, but will help regulate their emotions, balance all of the activities that they have coming up, as we talked about, just all around be successful as juniors, is if they continue to refine their executive functioning skills. So 2 skills that we really wanted to highlight today are self-advocacy and organization. We've seen that if your student can master these skills, they are set up for success. So with self-advocacy, junior year is really pivotal developmentally, where even more than before, we want to be encouraging our students to take ownership of their learning. So to do that, they should be asking clarifying questions, whether that's in class, so directly with the teacher, or sometimes it's outside of class. So maybe they're asking to meet with the teacher one-on-one for additional support. Maybe they're utilizing the resource hub. They could be working with their school counselor to help them figure out where to start. Opening that line of communication, starting with the student, is really what we want to push for this year. With organization, obviously junior year, we've said it ramps up academically. The college process really starts to take off. They're engaging in more responsibilities. So finding a consistent system to keep track of everything will really help them out. I, as a school counselor, have a lot of conversations with students about what type of system works best. So is it a to-do list? Is it a planner, paper, or digital? It's really their choice to pick a system as long as they have something. The last quick point I want to make here is about checking email and Schoology daily. We found that building that into their routine as juniors will really help improve their organization, because if you're keeping up with communications, we see less missing assignments, there's less misunderstanding, less tension between all parties. So just something to keep in mind as they kick off next year, and something to continue to remind them of throughout the year. Now I'm going to pass it over to Maddie.
So building off what Shelby just talked about, tracking assignments in Schoology is going to be really, really important junior year. Your students are familiar with Schoology. They've been using and tracking assignments 9th and 10th grade. So this is the time that it's going to be really important that they are taking ownership over their grades, they're learning, as we've all talked about, monitoring grades, monitoring assignments, and really using our platforms to make sure they're on top of schoolwork. Grade monitoring is best done on a web browser, both from the parent view and the student view. You'll be able to see broader feedback from teachers, check specific submissions. The app's not going to give you quite as full of a picture, but is still helpful. Our kind of best practice, what we're really emphasizing this year, is taking ownership, like we've all kind of echoed here. So having a conversation with your students about their grades, but then handing it over and having them initiate that conversation with a teacher. If there are grade discrepancies or there's feedback that you're unsure about, we welcome conversations with students, but then having them take the lead with conversations with teachers, counselors, kind of helping them help themselves and take that ownership junior year. And then any grading questions specifically that you may have as you're going through Schoology of your student, back to school night in the fall is an excellent time to connect with teachers, learn a little bit more about that Schoology platform, how teachers are using that specifically. And then we also wanted to highlight some positive behavior and social skills that we both see in juniors who are really having success with that transition to junior year. And then also that we like to see built up as students are going through junior year. Not all of these are going to come naturally right away. And some of them are going to be uncomfortable, or students are going to be facing new challenges and have to build upon their social skills in new ways. So demonstrating empathy to others who have different views and beliefs. Point number one, this is really going along with that independent learning style, the different perspective taking, as we're kind of challenging students to think outside the box, to take different perspectives, demonstrating and showing empathy to themselves, to their classmates, their peers, their faculty, owning their own learning and behavior, similar with that, but then also building on their self-awareness related to academics, related to social skills, making good choices. All of that is going to come up junior year. We really want to practice emotion regulation, utilizing coping skills. This is a great area where junior year, high levels of stress, students may start to notice that their coping skills that they've built upon or tried out earlier on in life are not working quite as well. So we want students to become a little bit more self-aware there, utilize their support. We have excellent resources. And speaking as a school counselor as well, we're always talking to students about building coping skills, adapting coping skills, and making sure they are prepared to handle kind of the challenges that they are facing, new and returning challenges. Building on meaningful relationships. This is not only going to help as their students, not only going to contribute to our positive school community, but also help with the future. Having great connections with faculty, staff, and peers, helps you have letters of recommendation in the future, helps you gain insight as students are making some bigger life decisions junior, senior year. So focusing on those relationships, and then as well prioritizing balance, taking on leadership roles, becoming an involved member of our community, and taking that kind of up a step. What are they most passionate about? What can we help them balance, but also prioritize what they're interested in most.
Thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Shelby. A lot of the things that you're talking about, self-advocacy, organizational skills, are all key things to work on or to have that will help support the college application process. While our college counseling team is going to be there to support your student and your family every step of the way, we really hope that it's the student who's driving the process. And so if they can work on their executive functioning, their advocacy, it's just going to help them in the long run, not only during junior and senior year, but when they head off to college as well. So my name is Kelly Curtin. I'm a member of our college counseling team. We are led by our Director of College Counseling, Tony Menestra. You've probably already been receiving emails from him this past year as sophomore families, and we'll get into that in a minute. And I have three amazing colleagues, Kate Koschel, Samantha Mondro, and Nicole Kucera, who's been working really closely with our 9th and 10th grade families during the past year. So just a little bit about what you can expect next year. In August, September, October, we're really focused on supporting our seniors and getting their applications done by early action and early decision deadlines. Those deadlines are typically November 1st. And then once that November 1st deadline passes, that's when we really have some time to focus on our junior students and families. So in November, you will receive your college counseling assignment. Every junior student and family will be paired with a college counselor like me. So you'll be supported not only by your school counselor who you've been working with, but a college counselor as well. So that notification will come from Mr. Menestra. And I just want to give you a preview of the kind of support that you're going to get from our team. And if that's one thing that you take away from my section of the presentation tonight, is that you are going to be supported. Our goal is really to be there for you every step of the way. And we do this in a number of ways. One, through one-on-one meetings that begins with a 45 to hour-long college planning meeting with your student and yourselves. You come to our office, we'll meet virtually, where we really get to know you and your student. We provide a number of information sessions that either take place in person or virtually, or sometimes we have pre-recordings that we post on our website. We also will deliver college planning content during Fresh Foundations, which was formerly known as Advisory. So we'll, just because we're moving into a different format, that doesn't mean that they're not going to get content related to the college process. In the fall, we are welcoming admissions reps from across the country who will be here on campus to meet with our students, hopefully some with our students. And we have our college fair that will be in April. I'm hopeful that many of our sophomore families were able to take advantage of that a few weeks ago. And then we've also been planning campus visits to local colleges. Ms. Kucera has been leading that effort. And we also, your end of junior year, we kind of hold what I like to call an application boot camp called Ramp Up, which is 3 mornings after school gets out, where your student can get a head start on the college application. And so it's just a great way for your student to kind of get a head start leading into the summer. One thing that another way that we support our students is that we've partnered with Academic Approach in providing test prep. Your student should have received an email from Mr. Menestra about some virtual test prep that is taking place this summer. It will take place on Sundays from June 15th to August 17th, and registration is open until June 1st. So if you're interested, please ask your student to see the email and register. We need to make sure that we have enough students to participate. So definitely register by June 1st if you're interested. And then next year, during the winter and early spring, we will offer in-person test prep for your student if you're interested. Okay, so you might be like, where can I get started if I want to learn a little bit more about college planning and what kind of support our team provides? The first place that I really encourage you to check out is our college planning website. After I'm done, I'll put a direct link to our website in the chat. But it's basically, if you go to DePaul Prep, then the academic section, and look for college planning, that's where you can find it. I want to highlight a few key pieces of the application of the website for you to be aware of. The first is our college counseling event and college rep visit calendar. You'll see a Google Calendar embedded on our website, and below it, there is a link to subscribe. I really encourage you to subscribe to that calendar. The screenshot that you see right now is from a shot of our calendar from September last fall. And you can see these are all admissions rep visits that were here on campus. And so if this was in your calendar, you could say, oh, hey, you know, Elon's coming on Tuesday, and you can remind your student to check them out. We encourage our students to subscribe to that as well. And we also put events on there that are held, you know, outside of DePaul Prep. So for example, on just this past Sunday, Johns Hopkins, Notre Dame, I believe WashU were here because they wanted a great location where families from across the Chicagoland area could come and they could give a presentation. And so we put that event on there as well, even though the universities were the ones that were sponsoring that event. And then finally, if you scroll all the way down, you're going to see a section called College Counseling Pews Events. And that's where we post links to the slides from a lot of our presentations, as well as any digital recordings. And what I would love for you to do is pay particular attention to the slides labeled Coffee and College Conversations. That's a new program that we launched this year for freshman and sophomore families. You know, we realized that our community was really hungry for college content. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were reaching out to those groups before junior year. Hopefully many of you on this presentation tonight have had an opportunity to attend those. There is one virtual presentation that you should check out, but it covers anything, you know, from testing to like a wide variety of topics. So definitely, if you haven't had a chance, please go to our college planning website. The other tool that you have access to, as well as your student, is our online college planning software called Maya Learning. Where we've been using that in advisory the past, you know, for your students to do career assessments, personality assessments. But during junior year, we'll build upon that and use it for college research. So you can identify colleges that you're interested in, learn more about their school community. And then during senior year, we'll actually connect that to your application. And that's how our team will send all their supporting documents, like transcripts and letters of rec. Okay, so looking ahead to next year, these are some, you know, key dates for you to keep in mind. So in September, that's when those admissions reps will come to campus to meet with our students. They're just really a great opportunity for our students to learn about colleges. We really encourage them to, you know, go to colleges they may not have even heard of before. You know, small colleges, medium, liberal arts. In cities, in rural areas, because a lot of our students kind of rule things off right off the bat. And the more you can explore and be open-minded, you might find something really, really cool. So definitely encourage them to check these out. In October, our juniors will be taking the PSAT, and that's tentatively scheduled for October 9th here on campus. No need for your student to register. We'll take care of that. And then on November 19th, you can actually mark your calendars now. We'll have our junior college kickoff that will take place in person in Commons. That's where our team will speak to junior families about what to expect within the next 2 years. And then beginning in December, that's when those junior college planning meetings meet, where we really get to begin getting to know your student and you. And then your junior will take the SAT in April. We haven't determined the date yet. Our college fair has already been determined. It's April 13th. And then in early June, June 2nd through 4th or June 9th through 11th, that's when ramp up will take place. And typically registration opens for that in March or April. So, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anyone on my team. And we look forward to working with you next year.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And just a shout out, our college team is incredible. You won't find one better. I say that with absolute confidence. So welcome to Mission and Ministries update for Rising Juniors. So we'll start with leadership opportunities next year. Juniors are invited to become peer retreat leaders for our 9th and 10th graders. And we've had, 50 to 60 students do that each year. And they are really a key part of offering these retreats and introducing students to peer-led sharing and that sort of thing. So this is a key role. It also helps us to get a sense of who might have potential as a Kairos leader later on down the line. Students are also welcome to serve at liturgies and also join our V service team, our Vincentian Identity and Experiential Service team, which is still evolving. I don't think we've quite found our footing yet, but there's a lot of creative things happening with Mr. Ford in the service area. So also speaking of which, as always, service is a priority to Paul Prep, partly because it's living our Vincentian charism of humble and grateful service to the poor, but also because it leads us to truth. You can read statistics on the unhoused people or people experience food insecurity, but when you go to a shelter or you go to a food bank and you hear someone's personal story, it just sounds different, and it leads us to the real truth behind what people are going through in our city, in our world. There's also many service opportunities to be offered with athletic teams and through co-curriculars, but I also want to give you the heads up that when your students get involved with honor societies, they also have service requirements. We help them to stay on track with that, but it does require planning. Our students, as we know, are involved in many, many things. So we are here to support them. We're here to connect them with different service opportunities. Some honor societies try to do different service opportunities that connect to their area, their subject area. So they'll receive plenty of information on that. But I do want to stress that they do need to plan and stay on top of it. Otherwise, it can catch up with them at the last minute, and it can be hard to pull off. Also, I want to mention that students who are really involved in service and passionate about it can earn a cord to wear at graduation, the St. Louise de Marillac Service Cord. And so to stay on track, again, everything goes through the MobileServe platform, which they're already familiar with. Mr. Ford visits all the classes, every grade level each year to review, to make sure students know what they're doing, how to use it. The platform should be on their phone. So I encourage students to keep track and take a look at their MobileServe profile and then see, hey, I'm on track to earn this cord at graduation. It's really a prestigious thing to wear as you walk across the stage. Next slide, please. Kairos. Most of you, if not all of you, have heard of Kairos because the students talk about it a lot. It is our 3-day retreat that our juniors go on. So it's a peer-led retreat. Of course, there are adults there. We go out to Loyola University Retreat and Ecology Center. And just some background, this retreat was founded in 1965, and almost every Catholic high school in the country offers Kairos. It encourages deeper understanding of self, God, and others. Next slide. So here's a few quotes from students, and it's always interesting this time of year because our juniors are applying to be leaders as senior year, and we get these beautiful essays. Last year, we had 115 students apply to be leaders, and we have only 48 leader positions. So it gives you a sense of how important it is to the students. They're surprised about what they learned. They create new friendships with students they were just otherwise passing in the hallway. They learn a lot about empathy and understanding and that they're not alone. Next slide, please. So a few frequently asked questions. Do I have to be very religious or Catholic to attend Kairos? Absolutely not. Every religion, believer, and seeker has a rich experience. And of course, we all know with our students, teenagers are trying to figure out who they are. Identity is a big part of it. They're asking big questions. It's an environment in which they can ask all kinds of big questions about God, about self, and who God is calling them to be. We keep a lot of the details of Kairos under wraps, partly because we want our students to manage their expectations of the experience. They hear a lot of buzz from others, but it's really hard to explain. And as we say in ministry, if you need to ask, you haven't attended. And if you've attended, you don't need to ask and you don't need to explain. So what they do on retreat, just in the basic sense, is it's story driven. It's an exploration of relationships with self, God, and others. And it's a change of pace. We go into a beautiful environment and all electronics get left at home. We collect their phones. They don't do schoolwork. They just focus on themselves and relationship. And they really come back feeling that it was a transformative experience. Next slide. So planning and registration, we're going to open up registration next Friday, May 9th, and we will email the link both to families and to students. So we do encourage you to plan ahead. We offer it 6 times a year. I'm going to have the list of dates on the next slide when we get to it. So you do want to plan ahead. Students should not be attending while their sport is in season, or maybe they're super busy with some speech tournaments or the play. So planning is really important. We offer enough retreats that everyone who wants to go will be able to attend. You just have to plan. So the form will be sent next week via email. And also, good news this year, our board of the school has approved that the fee will be included in tuition. We don't want money to be a factor when students are choosing when to attend Kairos or if to attend Kairos. So it's included in tuition. And so all they have to do is register, and then of course note the date on your calendar so it doesn't take you by surprise, since we do register far in advance. We do want to mention that the planning process on our end of Mission and Ministry takes 6 weeks. So if students do decide that they need to change, we need to know at least 4 weeks before the retreat's date. Otherwise, we do charge a fee because we've already booked it with the retreat center. So that's an important thing, and we will send out reminders for that. Next. So here are the dates for 6 Kairos next year, and we note which sports are in session. So you know, if I'm a winter sport athlete, then I shouldn't attend this retreat or that retreat. I also want to mention, we've talked a lot in this presentation about academic rigor. If a student is going to be worried about missing 3 days of classes, and we do help to support them and help them to plan on what to do and to get ahead and catch up, and it is an excused absence. However, for some students, missing a few extra days is very stressful. So if they don't want to, we are offering for the first time, well, we tried to offer it, but students weren't quite ready for this, I guess. But next year, we are offering this one outside of the school year. So you'll see that last Kairos, K86, on May 29th to the 31st, that's the only one that falls on a weekend after the end of the school year. All the other retreats are Wednesday through Friday. So again, if you don't want to miss any classes, your student can go on May 29th to the 31st. We leave Friday afternoon after grades get submitted, and we come back on Sunday evening. So stay tuned for more information on that. We'll be sending it out at the end of next week. And Ms. Gleber and I will be presenting in all of the sophomore classrooms to introduce them to Kairos and the registration process. Next. That's it for me. Thank you.
So as Dr. Stan Anderson said at the beginning of the call, we are grateful to have 2 of our parents here with us who just went through this transition themselves, as they are parents of current juniors. So we have Kathy Ball and Amy Bryant. Kathy, if we could start with you, do you have any other insights to add that might benefit these parents?
Yeah, definitely. So, as you're looking at this summer, what can you do during, prior to your junior year? I think if you're out of town or traveling, go visit a college in that town. And just kind of get a taste of what a college looks like. It just kind of starts the conversation. What do you like about this school? What don't you like about this school? Could you see yourself here? Just starting that communication with your child. The other thing I would say about the college rep visits, really encourage your child to go to those. I think it really helps to demystify the whole process, and they get to meet admission reps, and listen to what they're looking for in college applications, and then they learn what they can do during their junior year to kind of beef up their application. For instance, like volunteering or joining a club that they're really interested in, because and you want them to do things that are meaningful to them. So yeah, it just really helps just to kind of understand what the process is. Um, and I spoke with my daughter, asking her, what would you tell a junior student? She said to really use your resources your junior year. So advocating for yourself, talking with your teachers, emailing your teachers, like if you don't understand something, or if you're not sure when an assignment is due, or if they need an extension because they're just a little bit overwhelmed with maybe they have sports or another extracurricular activity, and it's just they're not able to get everything done. So just really advocating for themselves. Teachers want to help you, they're there for you. So you just need to communicate with them. Don't be afraid to do that. The other thing I would just say is, like, Kairos was fantastic. I know my daughter came home and you could just see just a self-confidence, a self-worth, just feeling a little more confident in herself. So I would really highly encourage you to sign up for that. Amy, what are your thoughts? What did you?
I have a lot of the same things to highlight that you did, Kathy. And I would say for any parent that has already kind of worried about their executive functioning skills of their child, it does start falling into place a little bit better. I think I have a son, and he's pretty good, but it got even more fine-tuned as he got through this year. So that was really promising. The advocacy was really impressive as well. Trying to communicate, and I've done it every year, get ahead of it, get ahead of if you're having an issue with something in class, make sure to communicate to your teacher about that. If you can't access a resource that you need, communicate that before you. A lot of times it was a reactive approach as opposed to a proactive approach. And so I felt like I saw those changes. As far as Kairos, I cannot say enough good things about that and what came out of it for Bodhi. Yes, Flo, absolutely. I mean, I just can't reiterate. For any kid who's maybe nervous about it or on the fence, as a parent, I would just encourage them to have faith in the process. And so many kids have done it. It's really special. And you will hit the ground running junior year with college reps. You do not want to miss that. They are like mini information sessions. It's like going to a school and having them sit down and tell you things in those big lecture halls that you visit when you end up going to a school, except this is done in our conference rooms and in our college counseling office, sometimes in a dining hall because it's a larger group. It's a much more intimate approach to being able to see a school, and it's nothing like the college fair. It's a very meaningful approach to exploration for our kids. Again, that's another area I cannot say enough good things about how well DePaul does their college counseling and the resources that they offer, starting with the college reps. And because you won't do your sit down until November, as parents, you really should encourage your child to look at the schedule. And I know a lot of parents each week sort of write down the guess who's going to be here this week and give the reminder as their child's leaving the house that day. But they will reiterate it with the announcements, and it'll be posted places so students will know. But as a parent, it's kind of a good way to give a little heads up for the week. Yeah, and the only other thing I would say, as Kathy mentioned, meaningful activities for the summer. What is hard is when you sit down in November as a junior, and then the kids are sort of scrambling to say, oh my gosh, what does my resume look like? What am I offering? But if a child has a work program or something special that they're doing this summer, those things are meaningful. And trying to look at this summer as an opportunity to fill your time with something that may be added to your resume.
Thank you, Amy and Kathy. I second all of what you said, and I think everyone presenting does too. So thank you both.
Hello again. I hope you guys have all been really taking in a lot of the information that's been said. It's wonderful to hear from different perspectives, and of course, it's really great to think about the summer, what's going to be happening, and what students can do to prepare for their classes. When it comes to some English classes, social studies, and of course APs coming up, there will be a lot more summer reading or summer assignments. And I know when we hear summer, we of course think that it's a break, and it is a break that your students incredibly much deserve. But as we're focusing on abilities to focus on organization and on timing, it's really important that if there is any summer reading or any assignments that they get on top of it, that they figure out ways to spread out their learning over the summer, use whatever book that is required of them or whatever text, whatever it might be. Just use that time over the summer to prepare. I bet if students were to reach out to counselors or to their teachers, the teachers may give them really good strategies for how to spread out their assignments over the summer. And speaking as a moderator of an honor society, while generally summer hours for the next year cannot be put in, but rather it's hours during the year for newer students, it's a good time to kind of look into places where you might want to do service as well, just so you can get an idea of what are spots nearby the school. This is a little self-tangent, but something to think about, especially being a moderator of an honor society. And of course, there was a big expectation change for students for the upcoming year. And little plug as a Spanish teacher. So we are offering something new this year that is meant to be a really big help for students going from 2 to 3, or from 2 to IB, or even students going to any upper level class. Is we want to have something over the summer where students can truthfully use the language in a meaningful, important way. So both for Spanish and French, there will be a boot camp, we are calling it, where a lot of the information over the summer is going to be kind of lost. If you're not using the language every day, you lose it. Just like if you forget how to do something, you kind of inevitably need to kind of refresh. So these are meant to really be supportive for students to really jump into the next year with a lot of confidence and be able to, as we mentioned, get the hit the ground running. So for the Spanish boot camps, those will be offered during July. And it's going to just be 4 days during the week where students can come in, have a lot of practice, do a lot more speaking, build on strategies that would be used in an upper level course. And the same thing would happen for French. I'll be posting the link. This is due on May 1st. I know it's been promoted for a while in many of your students' language classes. Unfortunately, none for Mandarin currently. Hopefully in the future we will. And you can, of course, reach out to Madam Mindel or Miss Heather Mindel at the email that is posted right there.
As we wrap up our presentation tonight, we also wanted to highlight a few important dates for juniors. These all should be updated on our academic calendar on our website, but just a few to note. First day of school will be August 21st. We will have all school testing dates again in the fall and the spring. Kelly did a really good job highlighting that college kickoff process that's really going to start in mid-November for our juniors. But those are a quick glimpse at the dates that are coming up for juniors next year, and they again can be found on our website.
All right, so this concludes our meeting for tonight. Thank you again for spending some of your time with us this evening. We hope it was informative and helps you feel more prepared and excited for what's to come. If you have any questions, please reach out to your child's school counselor. We can help connect you and find answers where needed. So thanks again, everyone.